Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Do us a favor, smash that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us at Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check us out also on Reddit and Discord. And go check out our friends over at shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. You'll see us listed there as well. And leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We got some Winnipeg Jets talk, some NHL talk, some CFL talk, some quick shots, but let's start off with some Winnipeg Blue Bomber talk and a couple big signing, re-signing, extensions, restructures today. But let's start off with some Chris Streveler talk. He's shown maybe some possible interest in a CFL return, possibly with the Bombers. Would that be a good reunion?
Yeah, I think it would be in terms of what he can bring to the Bombers, obviously, and what they can do with him. And we've seen what they can do with him back in 2019 in that Grey Cup run. Putting him on the field when, in different situations, having Claros also as the quarterback. So yeah, they mixed and matched him. So it looked great. My concern would be, what's the cost to bring him back? And where would we end up losing guys if we brought Streveler back? Would it cost us, say, an Oliveira, a Dalton Schoen, or even a Hardrick on the O-line? Then to me, it's not a great deal to bring him in. But if the numbers work, yeah, I'd love to see him back.
How can you not be interested? The offensive weapon that this guy is, and the packages that you can bring with him, especially if you lose Drew Brown.
Yeah.
You do have a capable backup, and who knows that he can be a much better passer, and he can be improved at reading defenses and coverages after his time in the NFL and getting some time to sit back and learn. So I definitely like to see him in camp.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Promise job, no, but camp, yes.
Yeah, he ended the season just nowhere, right? No practice squad on the NFL or anything like that. So obviously, you could probably make a lot more money if he gets onto a practice squad in the NFL. And I don't know if he just wasn't on it this year because of injury, or if kind of the NFL's kind of moved on and said, okay, there's other things out there. We're going to draft this guy and rather develop him than keep you on our practice squad, right? But he's got his NFL pension, so that's good for him. Yeah. But yeah, I'd love to see him back in the CFL. With the Bombers, but even if it's not with the Bombers, somewhere else.
That'd be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Hamilton or Ottawa, maybe. Kenny Lawler restructured his deal. Thoughts on that? Just another example of Kyle Walters and his cap wizardry. Like, Lawler isn't giving any money back. Apparently, he's probably making more money because of the taxation rate on the signing bonus. So good for him. And yes, there's some loyalty there that he's willing to restructure, but it's not like they're taking money away, but it's just Walters doing his job and finding room in the cap to sign some more guys, which they did today. So shout out to Kyle Walters.
Yeah, he had a roster bonus, Lawler did, coming up or yesterday or somewhere in there. So yeah, restructuring it made sense, right? And it is good for Lawler because he gets taxed less as an American player on his bonus. So yeah, he'll get more that way. So he's not losing out, and he has the opportunity to make more money off of it. So yeah, good move by Walters. And again, they're going to need as much cap space as they can get, right? We still haven't even found out from last year if they even went over that cap a little bit. They'll get fined for that if they did. So they'll need a lot of room. And like you said, they've signed other guys, another one today, another big one.
I wonder if there's more of those to come.
Yeah.
Well, they did sign Stanley Bryant on a 1 year. So he's coming back. Who knows on what kind of salary, but he's not going to be cheap. He's still one of the best linemen in the league, but it's a good signing on my end for sure to have that book in there.
Yeah, you got 2 of 5 guys signed so far, so you're just chipping away at that. I think Cole Nkowski will probably be the toughest one because he may be looking to get paid as well, and it might be tough to get him paid along with paying Bryant and Hardrick. Hardrick to me is also another interesting one because is where I feel like they're going to be a spot that they might have to kind of move on from a guy on this whole line and not pay, and it'll be interesting to see if that's the spot or if they're going to go a little younger or cheaper at center. But great to have Stanley Bryant back. And again, it's a 1-year deal. Really, that's all this guy's going to sign probably at this point. He's going to see how his body feels after every season and see if he can go again next year.
Yeah. Like, him coming back must mean that he's good to go.
Oh, yeah.
And he's ready to go, especially signing at this point. It's not like they're trying to convince him to come out of possible retirement. He's on board. And that's huge for the dressing room. And that's huge for the culture of the team because he's not like that huge vocal leader, but he's a stalwart on the offensive line. He's that He's the rock that the offensive line is built on. He's that silent leader. So that says so much about the loyalty and, again, the culture that Mike O'Shea has built.
Yeah, watching those two guys like Stanley Bryant and Jamarcus Hardrick on the field, it's different, right? Bryant's getting his job done, making moves, and Hardrick's, smacking everybody in the head, the helmets, and going crazy after every, good play. So it's funny. They're almost different in that way. So hopefully we can bring Hardrick back as well. But yeah, good moves so far for Walters, and hopefully it continues on here. I mean, we're less than a month to free agency. So
I found it kind of weird that on the announcement or article that Ted Wyman had, I think it was in the Sun, that they had all the details about like his housing allowance and all that. They usually don't release all those numbers. So I was like, okay, what's up with that? There's
for Bryant, are you talking about, or for Lawler?
Huh?
For Bryant or for Lawler?
For Lawler. And his restructure, how they move some money over, and what his housing allowance is now. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of information that you usually don't see.
No, yeah, I've seen that a few times, or a couple times lately. Someone else just restructured too in the CFL. Can't remember off the top of my head, but the same thing, housing allowance and all this other stuff. CFL needs to, is kind of like in the NHL, they got that cap friendly, right? CFL kind of needs something like that, so you can kind of see where teams are at and everything. But again, I don't know if they want that information out, because they probably want people to know how little some of these guys end up getting paid. So
hey, it is what it is. You can only pay people the money that you have. You can't print money. Well, you could, but that's it. Let's move on to some Winnipeg Jets talk. Have I missed anything? We haven't done this in a week. I get rusty now.
I think that's it for Bomber talk for this
Winnipeg
week,
Jets talk, brought to you by Fahrenheit Airbrushing. Stand out on the ice, pavement, or on the field with a custom airbrushed helmet or goalie mask, or anything. A local Manitoba business with affordable solutions for any project. Check out Fahrenheit Airbrushing on Facebook, or call them at 204-891-7431. Tell them Ray and Benny sent you. I shouldn't say anything, because then you have some creep calling for some weird ass thing that he wants painted.
Yeah.
So not funny, anything.
Though. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, funny for us. Not funny for Fahrenheit.
No.
Shoot. Recap of the last week. Hawks, Flyers, Islanders, they just finished tonight with a victory. Opposite at the beginning of this, where they just got by the Hawks. Sometimes it seems like a pattern with them. The Hawks were just tight on them in the neutral zone. Jets had trouble all night getting the puck cleanly into the Hawks zone. And unfortunately, Mark Scheifele got injured that game.
Yeah, and Peter Mrazek for Chicago was standing on his head a little bit, playing a very solid game until the last 3.5 minutes. I mean, you can't blame him for the loss. He made some great saves, but the Jets just kept coming. They're a team that just wouldn't quit. And you're playing a team like Chicago, where it's like you just lost to them last time you played them in a shootout. Now you're losing 1-0 to them in this game. But Velarde tied it up with 3.5 left, and then Ehlers got the late one with just over a minute left. And Adam Lowry, 2 assists. Primary assists on both these goals, playing on that top line, double duty basically, because he was playing top line minutes for Scheifele and his own role. So good to see him step up as a captain and set both these goals up.
Yeah, and we'll see this again in this game, the past game, the Islanders, that the Jets have that ability to score quickly, like within 2 to 3 minutes of each other. And with the Flyers, unfortunately, they couldn't get one at all. Like you said, Lowry played great doing double duty in that game, but the following game, the whole team just couldn't find its footing. They had some great chances and they couldn't bank some in. Harrison stopped all 35 shots, and the Flyers beat them 2-0. Like, they looked good that night.
Yeah, the Flyers, it was funny because the Flyers played the night before against Mini, but it looked like the Jets were kind of more of the tired team in that game. They had some chances. Gabe Velarde had at least 2 to 3 glorious opportunities in front of Harrison, and he just shot that glove out and made some wicked saves. Again, in both these games, Chicago and Philly, the power play stunk. 0 for 4 against Chicago and only 2 shots, and then 0 for 3 against the Flyers. The Flyers looked like they played, they got a lot of shots, and at times they did look like the better team. But it was just tough for the Jets to get going through that neutral zone. Flyers bogged that thing down. And the Jets were kind of sloppy in their own end, especially the first goal on Helly, not the greatest. He probably would like that one back. But there was times where the Flyers were dominating the Jets in their own end. So uncharacteristic a bit for the Jets to see them get dominated that way and give up the scoring chances that they did.
And like Bowness said, the Jets just couldn't score. Like there were opportunities there. So shout out again to their goalie who played very well. Adam Lowry is going to that game on a 3-game point streak with a goal and 4 assists. So or goal and 3 assists, 4 points in 3 games. He was feeling good. And Philadelphia does play a physical style. We were mentioning that with the Tortorella team. They're going to be on you, especially with the forecheck. And also they're an issue in the neutral zone. The Jets just couldn't get anything going, couldn't get the puck out of their own zone cleanly. And the Flyers were causing some turnovers, especially when we were sitting in the zone that the Jets were defending.
Yeah.
Like I found that we were sitting there and watching a lot of action, unfortunately, and a lot of turnovers and a lot of them in the middle of the ice.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. And it is, you were out Scheifele. Scheifele was out for that game. Rasmus Kupari kind of got rushed back because he's still doing a conditioning stint with Manitoba Moose, but he had to come back a little bit earlier. So you could see it in him. His legs weren't really there playing third line for Lowry. Kupari ended up getting dropped down to fourth line and Tortorella up. So you can kind of see the Jets were kind of lagging a little bit, and maybe the games that they've played lately is starting to affect them.
I kind of would have loved to see them put Lowry back on that third line because they're just so effective. And I think it might be worth the inexperience or inconsistency that you have with anyone else at center just to change it up in the third period, just to see that energy. Because that third line, I think there's like top 10 in minutes of lines played in the NHL, not top
Which
5.
Is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? More than the second first line on the Jets. This is the third line playing the most minutes on the team and like 7th or 8th most in the league. I can't remember exactly what they are. So they play. So I'd like to see that. A personal issue of mine, it was Filipino night, Filipino Heritage Night. I had that Pinoy dog.
Yeah.
What is Filipino about sweet and sour battered shrimp? That's like when you buy those instant ramen and it says Oriental flavor. What's Oriental flavor? What is that? Put some real Filipino food on there. Find me some pancit or palabok. Put some dinuguan on that hot dog. Don't put sweet and sour. I'm just saying. Have some adobo. Are you serious? No pulled pork adobo or something? Come on now. I'm just saying personally. I didn't like that hot dog.
Jets, write those down for next year.
It's so good. Pulled pork adobo? Shoot, man. Mouth is watering right now. How'd the Islanders game go? They came out with a victory there.
Yeah, Jets win 4-2 tonight. Again, Islanders played last night against Mini, got thrashed 5-0. Ilya Sorokin started last night and started today again and faced over 40 shots again. Power play again stunk. 1 for 5 on the power play tonight, but they kind of got lucky on it that Sorokin lost his blade on his skate and Pionk had the open net. So that's the only time they scored. They had a late one in the game, a power play, to maybe ice this game and put it away when they were up 3-2. Unfortunately, they could not score on it, but they did get an empty netter. Kyle Connor came back, first game back, scored a goal into the empty net. Mason Appleton, first goal today in 26 games. So that's great to see for him. Yeah, the Islanders looked like the stronger team coming out in that third, which is crazy to think, hey, they just played last night. The Jets should have been better. But the Jets were able to pull it off. So it's good to see them get back in the win column.
Yeah, Hellebuyck was pretty sturdy. He didn't let in a soft one.
Second one was from the side.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really soft. The guy found a beautiful angle and played it off of Hellebuyck. Just like
Appleton
scored the bank goal. Yeah,
Appleton.
he scored a beautiful bank. It was not a fluke. He played it off the guy. He found the spot. And it's really good because Hellebuyck almost had perfect position on that post, but he found that little squiggly skook and it went in. And I don't know what that word even means.
Hey, another game where they let less than 3 goals in as well.
How many games is that now? 50? Like 30 something, right?
It's 30 something for sure. Yeah.
Jeez. Who stood out? What are some thoughts? Do you have any concerns? Like you mentioned, that power play is a concern. We've repeated that over and over, and it's a real concern. They got to figure that out come later in the season and playoff time if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that power play in the playoffs, and that power play is going to be even bigger in the playoffs, right? Because goals will be harder to come by. And we've seen in these last couple of games where the Jets have struggled to score. The power play goals would have been great. None against Chicago, none against Philly, obviously, and then a lucky one kind of tonight. So they're going to need those, especially in these tighter games. Concern to me is just a bit how the Jets kind of looked a little bit tired over these last few games. And it's good now that they get a break until Saturday before they play Ottawa, because they were looking sluggish out there, especially against Chicago and the Flyers just wore them down. So lack of depth at center with Scheifele out, and Kupari coming in with fresh legs. It's hard to see it down there because you're looking at, okay, no Scheifele, we lost our top guy. Nemeskov's played well in that line 2 role, but it doesn't look good when your top guy is out, and the rest of the guys.
Connor wasn't there either, though.
Yeah,
Connor wasn't there either. That's double whammy.
Yeah, for sure.
Shoot. Also face-offs, man. Yeah. Watching face-offs in that Flyer game, it's like, have they been? We were watching like face-offs won percentage. We saw it slowly creep up in the third to about 45%. But at the beginning of the game, they couldn't get any offensive momentum going, and they couldn't sometimes get it out of their own zone because they couldn't win face-offs. Like there was one when Messikos was in the face-off circle. We're like, what happened? Did he try? I'm not saying he didn't try, but it was just over so fast that we're like, oh. Of course. So face-offs are still a concern. Not to me, to the team, I'd hope.
Yeah, for sure. And again, that's, you lose your best guy, Scheifele, at it. Now Lowry's going up against tougher competition in that center face-off dot, and he's usually pretty good. And he was probably the only guy that was actually good that night as well. So
yeah. Prime performer of the week for you?
I gotta give it to Josh Morrissey. Continues to be solid out there, playing great defensively, playing great offensively as well. He's up to 26 assists, got another one at least tonight, a couple of assists against the Blackhawks as well. I think one in that Blackhawks game. But yeah, he's on the score sheet. He's playing well, and he's just a force out there for the Jets, and he's into it. Like he even took there was one time today where it looked like he kept the puck in crazy on the blue line, and they called it offside. And I was sitting there going, wow, he kept it in, and they called him offside. And you don't see Morrissey get mad like that. And you're watching him going, man, the guy's emotions are out there, and he's just playing at a top level for me.
Batted it out of the air and then prevented it from going over the line.
Yeah.
But the ref didn't see that, even though the ref was like
right there.
Come on. My prime performer of the week is going to be Adam Lowry. I love this guy's fight, his effort. He can play on the first line if need be, and we saw him even between plays light up the bench when the effort was lacking, and it's great to see that. You saw him in Chicago, that when he is called up, he can play it, but hopefully not long term. But still, perfect captain for the Jets. So I'm going to go Adam Lowry, performer of the week. And like I mentioned, he was on like a 3-game scoring streak going into that Flyer game.
Yeah, and he got another assist tonight on the Velarde goal.
Nice.
So yeah, so he's definitely hitting that score sheet, filling in for Mark Scheifele.
Let's look at the week ahead. Road trips going to Ottawa and then Boston. Thoughts on these games? What do the Jets need to do to win? Who are you looking to step up in these games?
Yeah, first off is the Senators on Saturday afternoon game. Senators are struggling. 4-6 in the last 10. It might be actually 3-7 now because they lost to Colorado tonight, 7-4. And they were up in this game, 4-2. And then Colorado took over that game and beat them. One of the worst teams in the league.
Yes.
They're third last in the league. Is that what they are? Right. I was expecting a lot out of Ottawa this year. They made a bunch of moves. They got a good young core. And then even after firing their coach and bringing back Fossil Jacques Martin, hasn't changed their fortune. And the only thing that scares me in this game is if Korpisalo plays, because he has played very well against the Jets in his career, and especially last year with Columbus. He had 2 solid games against the Jets to beat them. So I expect the Jets to be able to take this one. They sometimes struggle in Ottawa and playing against Ottawa. But I expect the Jets, the way they've been playing and having 4 days rest, to come out strong in this one.
Oh, I think, yes, I agree. Yeah, they are a really bad team. Remember when folks were raving when they picked up DeBrincat? Where is that dude? Like,
DeBrincat's gone, man.
Who am I talking about?
Chikrin, Tarasenko, Giroux.
No, I'm talking about some. No. Who they pick up that was going nuts last year? Shoot, I can't remember. And they're thin on prospects. They let go of their first rounders, and now they're going to be bad for a while. And now with Connor and Scheifele in the lineup, the Jets, they're going to take this one. You know, they're coming off a win not they're coming off a win because they lost tonight.
Yeah. They do play again before they play the Jets. So,
and they had like a 5-game losing streak before that, and they ended it with San Jose that the Jets could never beat. So I think they're ripe for the picking for the Jets in this one. The game after that, though, with Boston, I don't think so, man. Boston is rolling. They're the best team in the East. The Jets will have to beat them in every facet of the game like they did last time when they beat them 5-1. They outshot them. They outhit them. They actually beat them in face-off percentage. They scored twice on the power play with Niederreiter. That pretty much the same thing has to happen, except they'll probably get by with a win of 2 or 1 goals because Boston's looking good right now.
Yeah, Boston has been looking good. 6-1-3 the last 10. And they're tough. You know, they can score. They're 9th in the league. And they're 4th. I guess the Jets, I think, are 2nd in goals against. So they're right there. So this is going to be a tight game. 5-1 was kind of a mirage for me. You know, when the Jets beat Boston like that, doesn't usually happen. So I do see this being a tougher game. And again, special teams for the Bruins, way better than the Jets right now. So that could be the deciding factor in this game. And Jeremy Swayman has been playing wicked this year so far. So it'll be a good goaltender battle probably between him and Hellebuck, but it'll be a tough one. And I expected the Jets to probably drop this one because it's on the road in Boston.
They could have had 2 all-star goalies in Boston.
Yeah.
Especially with that joke of a voting system.
Well, didn't Swayman, he got voted in by the fans, I believe, didn't he? I don't even think he was originally slated to go because I mean you got Pasternak's got like 61 points. Yeah, 61 points. So it's kind of hard to keep him off that all-star squad.
That's crazy, that team. But hey, they were crazy last year.
Yeah. The Jets the Jets are going to need, you know what, Appleton scored tonight. And it was part of my notes was, hey, Appleton and Nino have not scored a lot lately. They need to kind of pick up the pace and bring it, especially in this Boston game, for the Jets to have a good chance to possibly pull that one off. Without, you know, maybe Lawler will be back there if Scheifele's back. So that'll bring that line back together. But they'll need more out of their line 3 and 4. And Kupari actually looked good tonight. He had a few scoring chances and opportunities out there. He just couldn't find the finish. So I'm expecting maybe something out of these 3rd and 4th lines to help deliver a win in Boston.
So with Scheifele possibly coming in, and we saw the Jets play the Flyers, and possibly be weak down the middle. Not me, not my words. Should the top priority be another center before the trade deadline?
Yes, to me. Then I guess maybe weak's kind of a harsher word that I kind of threw in there. But yeah, I think they have to look at someone just to be able to have that depth there. Because if you lose a guy like Sheffield, even if you lose Domestikov or Lowry, who comes in and fills in those spots, right? Toninato is kind of there right now. And then Gustafsson would be your other guy. Not a lot of offense from either of those guys. Usually, yes, they're good for chipping in a goal or two here and there. But yeah, I think you need to bring somebody in, even if it's not Scheifele out. If Domestikov's out, Lowry's out, it would be good to have, just like they brought in Stasny, right? Back on that run in 2017-18. That was a great move. I know it cost them a 1st rounder, and this move will probably cost them a 1st rounder as well. But yeah, I'd like to see them do that before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm not fully convinced that it should be done or that it has to be done. Of course, a lot of teams are going to look bad when they lose their number 1 center, especially the first game back, like they did against the Flyers. But they look pretty settled tonight, and they're playing a pretty good team with the Island. Not the best team, not a team, but
not a great team, really.
Not like the Flyers were very great either, but at least the second game,
are rolling this year. It's crazy.
At least with the second game, they've been able to have some time to play with each other, and they looked a lot more steadier. They looked a lot more physical, and they looked just a lot more cohesive. Again, the power play wasn't great. So, and I don't even think, like, I'd love to see a top 4 defenseman. And of course, if you lose Josh Morrissey, which I think would be a bigger blow, then it would show you that you'd probably a defenseman's a more of a priority. And I don't even think they should make that move, because I think for the Jets, it's going to cost them a high draft pick and probably a high prospect. And 2-3 years down the road, when they have a lot of UFAs, then they'll be in trouble. Because maybe next year they're not in win now mode this year. Maybe next year they are, when they have the 4 UFAs. Because who's the UFA next year?
But right now, you're top in the league.
No, but hold
man.
on. You have the two defensemen that you're talking about, DeMillo,
Dylan,
and those are your two UFAs for next year. So next year,
for this year, right? For the end of this year, right? That's what we're talking about.
Going into next season, those are who you're worrying about.
Right.
So you don't have the amount of UFAs that you're worrying about next year. You already have Scheifele and Hellebuyck nestled down. So I don't think it's worth gambling top draft picks, especially for a draft and develop team and a top prospect when they're looking pretty good on team defense at a risk of injury. I don't think it's a move to make.
Yeah, I disagree with you on that because right now, to me, the NHL is wide open. Anyone can win the cup who's making the playoffs. There's good teams. I mean, Boston obviously is having another great year. Jets are playing well. But the Pacific and the Canucks are having an amazing season as well. But to me, none of those teams are top end powerhouses. So here's an opportunity for the Jets to possibly win a Stanley Cup or get far in the playoffs. I think you got to take that opportunity because you never know what could happen next year. Maybe you run into a rash of injuries throughout the whole season and it doesn't work out. So I think if the Jets have the opportunity to make a good run, they got to do it. And if it's a top line center or if it's another top six forward or if it's another defenseman, they definitely have to take that shot.
I'm always weary about trading for injury's sake. When you're giving up your future for injury's sake, because
it's not necessarily for injury's sake.
Could be injury's sake. Well, both scenarios we've mentioned, if Scheifele gets injured or if someone else gets injured, there's no depth. So it's just hard for me for a draft and develop team to give up those big chips for in case of injury. When a healthy team, we've seen a healthy team is one of the top ones in the league.
I'll take that out. It's not just for injury. I'd rather see a different guy than Nemestikov on your line two. I don't know if you're winning a cup with Nemestikov playing line 2 minutes. Yes, he's played fine there. He's looked okay. To me, Perfetti's kind of dropped off, and maybe that was because Ehlers was gone after that line and Connor was hurt kind of thing. So we'll see if Perfetti can kind of pull it back up again. But I think even in that top 6, you can use another guy that can fill in and help with the scoring on the Jets. As we've seen, Appleton hadn't scored in 26 games. So that third line hasn't really been chipping in their share here and there. So yeah, I minus injury, no injury, I'd still like to see them bring somebody in.
Yeah. Of course, I'd like to see another, not so bona fide, but perhaps a better solid number 2 center. But I don't know how much I'm willing to give up for what. The Jets will have to pay extra. We know the Jets are never in the top position in any negotiations. So I'm just
what do you mean? Chevy's made some great trades where they haven't really lost out. I mean, you're not signing a guy off the street and paying him. You're asking a guy, hey, you have an opportunity to come here for a few months and possibly win a Stanley Cup. Like Stastny did. Stastny probably wouldn't have came to Winnipeg as a free agent, but he said, okay, I'll come there in this trade and check it out. And he actually stayed longer than he was probably even expecting himself, right? So again, yes, if it's going to cost you a first plus, say, a Lambert, then yeah, I'm probably out, right? If it's going to cost you a first and something else, but that's not at the top list, then I could probably stomach something like that. But yeah, I don't want the Jets to lose a Lambert or a guy like that on the Moose right now.
Hey, Nola?
I could possibly do it for Heinola. Why not? I mean, he's not getting the minutes here anyway. So if someone wants him, that'll bring back a second line center or something. Yeah, I'd reluctantly go in on that.
We talked about Mesa Appleton. What's his role when guys come back from the injury? The press box? I'm sorry, don't mean it as an insult, but that's more of a nod to the talent that the Jets have. Like, especially with Gustafson, and I don't know, man. I don't see his place, even though he scored that goal today.
Yeah, he needs to do more of that. I wouldn't even mind seeing. I'm surprised they haven't done it at this point. Even Morgan Barron getting more of a shot on that third line to see what he can do in that Appleton spot. I still see Appleton over Fialbi, but again, if Appleton's struggling, I'm all for throwing Fialbi in here and there in a game. I'd like to see Gustafson back at that fourth line center when he's back for Tornado because he just needs to develop more and more there too. But Appleton needs to step up. Hopefully this will kind of open the gates for him a little bit and you'll get that confidence back and chip in some more goals here and there.
Definitely like Fialbi with the puck better than Appleton.
Yeah, but he's again hit and miss. Like he was great for a couple games and then I haven't really noticed much out of him besides his speed for the last few games kind of thing. So
yeah. Has the fourth line been getting less minutes?
No, I think the second one's been getting less minutes.
Seems so, eh?
That was a lot of the stuff tonight that I was seeing on Twitter that Ehlers minutes, line minutes were quite low, and Perfetti's were quite low tonight. Fourth line's over 10 minutes.
Solid.
Tornado played just as much almost as Ehlers did.
Shout out to Bowness on his first All-Star game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Bones is going to the All-Star game.
Considering this was a guy that was pretty much retired when the Jets called him, right? Ready to call it quits, finding a place in Arizona and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then he agreed to come back. And I, for one, when they were bringing him back, I thought he was just a placeholder here for 2 years while the Jets rebuild kind of thing. And then they would move on to somebody else. But he's brought this team together. He's made Morrissey a better player, and he's got these guys to buy in. And making Lowry the captain was the right move. So good for Bowness. Shout out to him.
He's a Jet, eh? Through and through.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's the only reason probably, he came back was the Jets calling. He's like, I can't turn this down.
We talked about All-Stars and voting process. Who's the biggest All-Star snub for the Winnipeg Jets? I'm going to say Josh Morrissey was the biggest snub.
Yeah.
Definitely a top 10 defenseman in the league. Makar aside, best defenseman in the Central, arguably. I don't know. I think he just should be in there. Unfortunately, we don't have the population to get him in there. So he should have been the starter automatically, but whatever. Makar's there. What can you do?
Yeah, it's hard to beat out Connor Hellebuyck when you're taking one player per team, right? But I would agree with you, Josh Morrissey. That's a snub for me. And in the end, good that he gets to take a break and get some rest, because Bowness has been relying on him a lot so far this season. So, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen him there, but it'll probably help and add more fuel to his fire that he's not.
I was watching an interview with Rasheed Wallace, a former NBA player for the Pistons. And I think Kevin Garnett got hurt before the All-Star game. And he was like packing and getting ready for vacation. And then his agent or someone from the NBA called him, is like, yo, you got to play in the NBA game on the reserve. He's like, what? F this. Are you serious? So he had to go there, and he was in the locker room. And before the game, he's like, yo, do not pass me the ball. I'm here to chill, make some money, and get out. It's funny. So not everyone loves those All-Star games.
No, you get a break, right? Whereas you go to it, you don't. So, and all these other guys are going on vacation somewhere hot, wherever, and you're stuck playing a game. I know it's fun for these guys, and you get the recognition, but a lot of them probably get tired of it after a bit.
Thoughts on those All-Star jerseys?
What the heck are those things? Like, I don't know. To me, and maybe people like them, but I don't like them. I don't know what they even look like. The colors of them do not suit me in any way, but yeah, atrocious.
Lame. And why is there no shout out to Toronto on those jerseys? Is this Star of the CN Tower? I was really looking. I was really trying, but I think that should be a part of your All-Star logo, is the city that you're in. And it shouldn't look like a practice jersey. What is that?
And some of them just look like normal shirts, like those blue ones. Like, I don't know, man. It looks like a normal long sleeve. It doesn't look like a jersey to me.
Here's a warm-up jersey. It's like, what? Any which way. Let's move on to some quick shots. Are these a real Edmonton Oilers that we're seeing?
Wow, they've been, they won 7, they lost 3. Now they've won 10 in a row again. So they're looking very good. So yeah, this is probably the team we were expecting to show up at the beginning of the year and play this way. I mean, their metrics are good, 5th in goals for, their power play is high, their PK's not bad. They're in the last wild card spot after being pretty much last place in the NHL. So yeah, I think they're for real. I don't know if they have enough depth to take it and go far. To me, again, you're relying on a lot of these guys to play hard right now and through for the rest of the season. Can they keep it up? Will McDavid and Draisaitl still have legs in the playoffs?
Did Zach Hyman make the All-Star team? Isn't that guy leading the team in goals?
He has 26 goals, yeah.
Get out of here. This is like the first time, the streak they're on right now, that the Edmonton Oilers franchise has had a double-digit win streak. Isn't that crazy? Considering they had that crazy team with what's his name?
What was his name again? Started with a G.
Yes, that just shocked me, especially with like a 57 win team, but then it makes you think, yeah, it's hard to win 10 games in a row. So I think this is a team that can win it. They kick teams' ass with lots of scoring, and they've also won a couple games just grinding it out recently. like these 2-1, 3-2 games. So they've shown that they can win. And if Stuart Skinner can play competently for the rest of the season, who knows, man? But I think they are real. I don't know. I won't put money on them being the champions, but they'll give teams trouble. And I can see them making a deep run.
Yeah, defensively they've played fine. But again, past those main four guys, is it enough to get it done? And then yeah, Skinner will be my biggest concern going into playoffs, just kind of what he did last year, where he struggled. So good run. It's good to see these Canadian teams. You got the Jets, the Oilers, and Vancouver playing very well right now. Toronto in a bit of a slump, and they're losing to the Oilers actually tonight. So, but yeah, good for Canada so far. 4 very good teams, and then some bad teams.
Let's keep rolling with these quick shots. Biggest signing of the week in the CFL, Keon Hatcher, arguably best receiver in the league. They're amazing to avoid free agency with this guy. They're crazy receiving core in BC, and he's the guy that's probably the best one. So I'll say Keon Hatcher.
Yeah, there's a lot of restructure guys. Cameron Judge, I think, was also a restructure. Another one that I liked was restructured more, I think, was Fullerin or Rimlad. I probably did not say that right, from the Argos. Solid defensive lineman there, 10 sacks last year, 2 forced fumbles. So he's good to bring them back and extend him beyond the next year for Toronto. So good move for them.
Who won the Gittins-Ceresna trade, Toronto or Edmonton?
I'm going to go with Toronto, man. I like the D-line guy better than the receiver, even though Kittens is a Canadian receiver at least. But Ceresna, 12 sacks last year. He's been solid so far in his CFL career, and the contracts are the same. So Gittins to me is probably getting paid a little bit more than I would expect to bring in a move like that. But yeah, I got to go with Ceresna.
I'm going to go with Gittins. Pass rushers in the CFL are crazy, and Toronto definitely is going to lose some pass rushers, or maybe to Corey Mace, or who knows, maybe Pinball can convince him to stay in Toronto. Pinball is a convincing dude, and he's going to get talent to come in. But getting a prime Canadian receiver is not easy, and I think Gittins is on the brink of that. He's on the brink of putting up Nick Dembski type numbers. And for a team in transition like Edmonton with MBT and Ford, I think that's the receiver you want. So I'm going to go Edmonton on Gittins on that.
Well, Gittins already did put up those numbers. He had 1,100 with McLeod Bethel Thompson a couple of years ago. Just was hurt last year, right, with the hip injury. So if he can come back, he'll get right there. But yeah, I like D-line.
Quick shots. Biggest shocker of the first round of the NFL playoffs.
And I got 2 of them, and I don't know which one to go with. But I'm gonna pick
biggest
Green
shocker.
Bay. I'm gonna pick Green Bay over Dallas,
even
though I could expect Dallas to lose because they always choke at some point. But 2nd seed versus a 7th seed, and Green Bay went into Dallas, who were undefeated at home, and thrashed them 48-32.
Talking about Dak being MVP, that's crazy that the Packers won in that one. Good job with Jordan Love. Should Mike McCarthy take the shoulder of the brunt of the blame on this one?
Oh, for sure. To me, he's always been kind of overrated to me. And yeah, Dallas has looked good here and there in the regular season, but once the playoffs come around, it's like he has no answers, and he has been thrashed in all his playoffs with Dallas. And even with Green Bay, he only ended up winning one with Rodgers. So yeah, McCarthy, if I was Dallas, I'd probably move on at this point.
He will, but he shouldn't. The players at this point in the season got to step up, and they played horribly. Where was their number 1 defensive player? Parsons didn't show up. What happened to Dak Prescott?
Terrible.
Didn't show up. These players have got to. What can the coach do at that point? They weren't executing. They were making mistakes. It's not about motivation. Any which way.
Well, something's wrong there. It's usually the coach that goes.
Exactly. And he will pay, but I don't think he should shoulder the blame for this loss at all. No, not at all. In the most part, that he deserves to be fired. If Jim Harbaugh does come back to the NFL, which opening is the best fit for him?
I'm going to go Chargers. One with really the spot with the best QB in Justin Herbert. We've seen that Jim Harbaugh does very well with good quarterbacks and plays a great system with them so I think the Chargers. The only worry for me would be the owner, Dean Spanos, but he seems to back off once things are going well. Once things start going bad, he doesn't know how to handle it and fix it. But yeah, I would pick the Chargers.
Out of all the owners, this is the guy I might be the least concerned about, except for the Washington guy. But who knows what he's doing.
It's the Washington guys new, right?
So exactly, it's his first time around. Who knows? But all the other owners are just as much craziness. I'll go with that. Dallas. I was going to say Atlanta. Yeah, right. But Chargers, they have a young quarterback. They are probably the youngest team other side than Atlanta, might be younger. So I'll go with the Chargers. Their QB's there until like 2030, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Dang, that was awesome. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and have a good week.
Was it Wayne Gretzky that said you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take?
Was that Michael Scott?
Way to tag on to that. I was going to say it was Michael Scott because I just saw that quote. Actually, I don't know why I did a golf swing there, but I just saw that quote. He wrote it on the board and he said Wayne Gretzky, and then he went, quote, Michael Scott. So anyways, in the meantime, between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.